Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the VICKI BOUTIN design team, and I want to keep on following up with last week's prompt, which is when you saw me start some of the entries of Vicky's junk journal homework for June. This is gonna be the second week, so I'm gonna show you four videos in one of some of the entries that I created this week. The first one responds to prompt number 11, which is blended. And what I'm doing here is actually one of the easiest ways to add mixed media and the fastest way to add mixed media to a project. And all I'm doing is using art crayons and the stencil brushes. And all you're going to see me do is I'm starting with a mixed media insert, and I'm scribbling the beige crayon onto the acrylic piece that comes with the brushes. And then I'm just picking up the color with the brush and applying it onto the mixed media insert on a circular motion. And I'm going to do this to cover the entire page. And I love the fact that even though this page started white, now it's this sandy color, looks like craft, and loving it. Super simple, foolproof. Like I said, it looks like I spent time inking it, and it's amazing. Now, I wanted to create my own pattern paper. And for this, I actually pulled out a die cut. I have a box of die cuts that I haven't used on my stash, and this feather comes from it. I'm not so sure where it came from. I will look it up. And all I'm doing is I'm using it as a stencil. And my idea was to create a paper that looked like had feathers floating in the background. And for this, I am using the warm tones of the art crayons just to create the shapes, the feathers. And I'm following the same that I did before, scribbling the crayon, picking it up with the stencil brush, and then running it in a circular motion on top of the feather. And what this is going to create is create a halo around the feather, fill the empty spaces of the die cut, and then give you the definition of the feather. And super simple, love the effect. It actually works really good and really great in this page. Now, if you've seen my work, you guys know that I love the white art crayon. So I chose to mix it a little bit with whatever was left over on the brush, and I create the softer color of the previous feather next to it. Love it, super simple, didn't have to clean the brushes in between. You're gonna see that I don't clean my brush at all. But what I do along the way is flip and move the feather just to give me to help create the illusion of movement in the background. Super simple, guys. Like I said before, one of the easiest ways to add mixed media to a page. Now, once I had that done, and look at the feather, doesn't it look so pretty? Sorry, side note. Now, once I'm all done with this, I wanted to bring some shine, but I did not want to add a lot of texture. And you know, when you use gold glaze, sometimes when you run into a stencil, you can get the bumps. I did not want to have the bumps. So my choice was to use a stencil brush and a stencil to create a little bit more interest and add shine to the page. And as you can see right now, all I'm doing is same thing I did with the crayons, pick up the color with the stencil and then run it on top of the stencil. So it sounds redundant, but that's about it. It gives the shape of the stencil without adding the texture or the bumps in that case. Since I had some of the gold glaze left over, I just watered it down, diluted it, and then just adding some droplets onto the page. That's about it. I set it aside to dry for a little bit, you know, because I added water, and that's it. Now, I'm treating each one of my junk journal entries as little scrapbook pages. So as you can see, I'm bringing a picture of my 3 kids, actually my 2 kids and the dog. And I'm just adding a few pieces from Vicky's collections. And I'm also adding the feather that I used to create the stencil because it has all the colors that I use in the background. And that's pretty much it. Simple. I think the background's doing a lot of work, so I don't need to work a lot of things onto the page. Like I said again, simple, fast, and one of the easiest way to add mixed media. And I hope you try it. Now, the next prompt is a combination of 2 of the prompts, is the resist and the matte gel. And for this, I am going to use again, this is a mixed media insert. And all I'm doing, I'm actually using again the same stencil as I did before, the old Heidi Swap. But this time I'm using a palette knife to create the texture on the page. And as you can see, all I'm doing is adding matte gel through the stencil. And it's going to give me the bumpy surface that I wanted to avoid in the previous video. And I'm going to set it aside to dry. This took a while to dry, and I work other entries in between. Now, once it was completely dry, I am using blue Hawaiian acrylic cloth paint. I love this color. And I'm watering it down so it's really fluid. And then I'm going to use my brayer. I'm using my brayer because I want to make sure that I add the color onto the insert and that it goes into all those little you can say divots of where the, you know, or the bumps. I wanted to get to the paper and like on the bumps. So I thought that if I use the brayer, it's gonna actually compress and transfer the color easier. And you see I make a mess too. But I love it. It worked the way that I thought. And I set it aside to dry for a little bit. And then once it dried, a tiny little bit, not like a lot of time, like maybe 5-6 seconds. All I did is come with a baby wipe and start buffing the area where the bumps are at. Because I want to keep them white. I want the contrast of the background of the paper and the bumps that I added with the matte gel. Now, once that's set aside to dry, once that dried, I am going to seal this. I'm thinking of layers, and this will be my third layer. And all I'm doing is using matte gel again, but I'm using a brush to apply it. I'm making sure that I cover completely the entire page, and I set it aside to dry completely. So this video is the next day. Like I said, I worked 4 videos in like maybe 3 hours, but in different days. Now, what I'm doing right now is, again, I'm gonna bring more color to this, and I'm choosing 2 colors. And all I'm doing is just running some art crayon, and I'm gonna use dark blue and a light blue to create I'm gonna say like a shaded page. And all I'm doing is again scribbling the crayon on my craft mat, picking it up with the stencil brush, and then running it on circles on top of the page. But I'm gonna cover the entire page. Once that's set, and you're gonna see that I'm gonna speed it up because you guys know what I'm doing. There's no need for you to show it again. Once I'm done completely, I'm bringing a baby wipe and I'm gonna start buffing some of the area, not all of it, just to bring up some of the white of the bumps that I created, or the polka dots that I created at the beginning. And the beauty of it is that I have sealed the page, so I'm not gonna lose the teal color, the blue Hawaiian acrylic paint that I laid after. Now, here's the fun part. I wanted to add more texture, not texture, but a different look. And for this, I am bringing my stencil brushes. Sorry. But what I'm doing this time is, you saw me add a little bit of water. I'm going to wet just the tip of the brush, and I'm going to clean it up. You see I have a baby wipe on the side. And I'm going to do is start taking away some of the color using this on top of the stencil. Sort of like a ghost stenciling. And this is going to pick up the color of the mat, of the project, in this case of the page. And it's going to create the illusion of a stencil background with the teal that's underneath is going to show. Love it. I set it aside to dry for a little bit because I'm using some water. It needs to dry for a little bit. After that, once again, I am, like I said, it's a small scrapbook page. This is a picture of my two littles. These are my niece and nephew. I call them my littles. They just love to play and the sprinklers, even though they're dressed for a party. So I had to document this. All pictures of my summer. And all I'm doing is adding a few details. I wanted to elongate the page, so I added this little flower from the watercolor sticker set, and I'm just adding some art crayon and just shading it in, and that's about it. Love how this turned out. The resist, the matte gel, it took a while to dry in between. Like I said, I had to seal in between to make sure that I kept that teal underneath, but I love it. Love how this turned out. This is just, for me, is fun and games, and I love it. Now, this third video, it's all about flutter. That's the prompt, and this is all about watercolor. And you're gonna see that I'm actually pulling my color wheel on my phone because I wanted to have contrasting colors, just to show you how easy and actually fun this technique is. And it works on its own. I barely did it, just help the water move around. So all I'm doing is I'm using art crayons, and I'm using blues and orange and yellow because they're complementing contrasting colors. They're gonna show really nicely. And this is a watercolor insert. And as you saw me, I used my mister to add water on the page. Once I had, like, it's not completely wet, but already the page is bending because it's absorbing water. But this is watercolor paper, so it's okay. Once I have that done, I am adding the watered down crayon that I have on the side. And I'm just, like, you're going to see, I'm going to pull it. Literally, this is what I'm doing. I'm adding water in between. You're going to see me that I'm going to come in with the mister once in a while just to help the color move. And what the mister does is, like, once you wet watercolor paper, it soaks up in the paper. So what I'm doing with the mister is just helping it stretch. Because what the mister does is just gives you an extra area for the liquid to float or to move around. And that's it. This is pretty much all I did for this page. This page was so much fun to create because really the watercolor does its work. The water does its all work. All I'm doing right now, like you see, is like I'm just stretching and like, you know, sprinkling some water in between because I just want to stretch the color. And I'm gonna lift and then bend the paper so that the color runs on its own and it mixes without me doing not the work, but I want it to mix naturally. I don't want, like, you know, to force the mixture. Now I set that aside, not to dry, I set it aside, and you're gonna see me that I'm starting with the blue part. And one of the things that I did for this particular page is that something that you have to keep in mind is that when you're using art crayons, the more crayon you use, the it's not going to give you a darker, I don't know how to say it, impression. It's going to depend on the amount of water you use. So the more water you use, the lighter the color is going to be. I hope it translates properly. But so what I'm doing is you're going to see me that I'm using a lot of art crayon. I keep scribbling and adding more because I know every time that I'm sprinkling water onto the page, I'm diluting the color. So, and again, like I said, that's about it. You saw me that I missed some water, and all I did is with the brush move some of the orange so that it would start mixing with the blue. And I'm just picking up, you see me using a paper towel just to pick up the excess because there's a lot of water right now. So I'm just picking up the excess. And that's pretty much it. This one I set aside to dry overnight because I wanted to make sure that like, you know, it dried completely. And when it dries flat because this is watercolor paper, so it's okay. And that's it. You're gonna see me that I just pick up the extra bullshit, and that's it. This is the next day. Super simple page. Now I wanted to pop some of the color, and I had an idea of using that picture, and you see me is me and having my feet raised in the dashboard of the cars. We're driving, I don't know where we're going, we just took car rides. It was the summer. But as I go along, I change it. But my first thing was to actually add another layer of mixed media to punch the color. And I'm using the circle stamps from Vicky's latest release and the ink wheels. And I'm just inking and adding the stamps based on the colors when I'm gonna stamp. I also added a few of the arrows that comes from one of the first stamps on Vicky's release, and that's pretty much it. And then I set it aside to dry. That's it. I didn't want to add more. And what you see me do right now is a picture of actually a couple, I think it's last weekend. And this is my baby, and he'll let us do anything to him. Not bad, like, you know, like we can dress him up or put hats, whatever we can do, as long as we take him on a car ride. He loves car rides. So I usually put my sunglasses, I put a hat, and I take him in the car with us. And we just went out for a little ride, and we took him with us. And I'm just adding some simple, I don't know, simple decorations around the picture. And that's about it. That's my page. Love how this turned on. Honestly, the color is so vibrant. I added more, nothing else. I added just the stamping that I added just punches the color more. And it makes it, I think, it's so much fun. I love the color contrast. And on my last entry is all about yeso. And I'm gonna explain to you what happened because I did not record the whole thing. But let me get there. First of all, I'm using a piece of paper from my 7x10 paper pad. And I wanted to show you that you can, yeso works great to protect your paper. If I prep the page, and all I'm doing is running yeso with my braid, stretching it on the page. If I do this, then my paper is not gonna bend. Now, while that dry, what I did is I used a little bit of art crayon and I mixed it with the yeso. Color yeso is something that I love working with. You know, there's such thing as black yeso, and you can create your own yeso, but color yeso by actually scribbling the art crayon and mixing it with yeso. Why I stopped the machine is because when I start scribbling the crayon, I actually cracked the crayon. And that confusion, I forgot to press record again, so I didn't show you that part. So all I did is I actually mixed the crayon with the yeso and then run it through the script stencil on top of the yeso part that I had already prepped. And that's about it. I set it aside to dry. Now what I'm doing is I am adding some navy blue. This is from the neutral scent. I'm diluting it, the art crayon, and adding it on top of the script stencil that I have. And I'm letting it move by itself. You're gonna see me that I'm gonna add drips to it. And my choice when I do drips is I usually lift up the page, stand it up, and I actually tap it. That way I know the water is going to flow without me pushing. It's going to flow on its own. It's going to be a natural drip. You're going to see that I'm adding a lot of color at the top, and I'm going to start tapping the page onto my, you see I'm tapping the page on the board. This is going to be like natural drips without me having to like hold the pen. And sometimes it doesn't run, especially for me, it doesn't run. And all I'm doing after that is adding some droplets, but my choice was to just flick the water brush to create the droplets of ink. Now, once I set that aside to dry, not too long, a little bit, I'm gonna use again a baby wipe to clean all the extra or the blue art crayon that is stuck on top of the stencil that I created. And this is just gonna bring the color, so that I added, and create a definition on the background. And I love it. I love this pink tone. I used the maroon color from the art crayons and mixed it with the yeso, and it gave me the shade that looks a lot like the rose gold. And that was my inspiration for this page. And after that, I'm just adding some simple decorations. That's a picture of my daughter and I Mother's Day. And I'm just, like I said again, my small mini scrapbook pages. I'm just gonna add some little details. I'm gonna add this water color butterfly, and I'm gonna bring some of the rose gold diluted and add some just add some definition to the wings, and also give a little bit of definition to the title, which is another watercolor sticker. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of color to the lines that forms the frame, and that's about it. The leftover paint it became paint that I have, I'm just gonna add some splatters along the page, and that's about it. Super simple. Love how this turned out. I love the color combination of the navy with that little dusk rose. And I set this aside to set a little bit because it has to dry. Now what I'm gonna do, and I'm sure a lot of us are going along the challenge and just using one side of the junk journal pages, but I need to maximize this space. I mean, otherwise I'm gonna end up using like 5 junk journals just for the summer. So my choice is to actually glue the pages together, and that's why I cut the 7x10 paper pad to fit into this page. I'm just using some double-sided tape and just gluing the 2 pages together, and that's about it. Love how this turned out. I love the fact that actually once you start going to the pages, it's gonna have like a rhythm to the book in a case. And I love it. I love this page. I love the color combination. I hope you try it. Be creative with your so you can color it. It will resist. It will work the same way. It just have color in the background. And I hope you follow the challenges. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to check out Vicki's stuff. It's amazing. And come join us for the challenge. Join the Vicki Boutin community, mixed media community on Facebook. I'll be there. Take care, guys.